All right, welcome back, Art 3. You guys are going to be doing your last or beginning your last sketchbook study that's guided with me today. And what that is Sgraffito. And Sgraffito is a very simple method that I'm about to get into. But with Sgraffito, you're going to balance freedom and responsibility with the tools that I give you today. You are going to reflect upon and revise your artwork, really making it something that you're proud of. Now, I know it's something you're going to be doing within your sketchbook. However, I want you to view what you're doing within your sketchbook studies as final works of art. And I'm saying that now as we're entering the last sketchbook study, because these are mini works of art. So don't treat this as something where you're exploring it really quick and you're setting it off to the side and you're done with it. Go back to it, refine it, and make it something that you are proud of. I would say right here that you're constructing evaluations of your artwork. That kind of goes in with refining artworks, but this will really come into play with your independent studies, which you guys will do next when you go on your own, and you'll do peer reviews. And I'll talk about that, not in the next video, but the one after, so don't really worry too much about that one at the moment. But anyway, back to Sgraffito. So Sgraffito is a removal technique, which is where you're removing the top layer of the surface. Now, this is typically seen in pottery a lot, and you guys won't be doing pottery today, so don't get your hopes up. But you do see this where potters will form their form or create their form, and they will apply a layer of slip, a colored slip in this case, or it could be a layer of glaze. But anyway, they will apply that layer and then they will start to remove it to show what's underneath. So like I said, this is very commonly seen in ceramic artwork. Now, you guys are going to be doing this in oil pastels today. So going back to 2D or two-dimensional works of art, this top layer here, or this top picture here, is pottery again. But here, this is where they're using those oil pastels. And in this case, they're using a toothpick or some type of skewer of some sort. However, you're going to use an actual tool used for scratching and removing the medium. Now here's some other works of art. I'm going to skip these actually because they're not the best quality. And I'm going to jump right into the Instagram video. Now, before this video starts, they are using a palette knife to remove the oil pastels. However, they're doing it very quickly and like in a haste. So I don't want you to take this video as honestly inspiration of your removal process, but it is a great video showing you how it works. So let me click on that. Okay, so that video is great as far as showing you kind of the removal process of the oil pastels. And when they were removing the top layer, underneath was a lighter layer. Now this is very common just because it's easier to start with a lighter ground, as you would like to call it, or as some people like to call it. So the examples I am going to show you do have a lighter background. Anyway, I love this example here. One, because it's really showing you the process of Sgraffito, and two, because they are using fine lines to create texture and value instead of going in with those large lines, kind of like these. However, they get finer over on this example on the face here. But back to this one, I want you guys to aim more for something like this, just so you can practice this method and really try to incorporate value and detail as much as possible. And then here is a little example here as well. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my first slide, and I'm just going to pull up my webcam, and I'm just going to show you the tools you'll be using today. And I apologize because I don't think I can get my video that large. Yeah, that's as large as I can get it for some reason. So I'll try my best to show you. What's going on here, even though it's pretty small on your screen, I'm sure. Okay, so you guys have been given a practice sheet and a final sheet. Now, if you want to go larger with your final and just do your final within your sketchbook, that is totally fine. I just have these pre-cut for you. So, like I said, definitely use this guy, definitely have the practice, but when you get to your final, you could either A, use the final paper, or B, just go right into your sketchbook and use that whole page. That is up to you. Okay, so I've already done one example to show you, and I'll bring it up close to the camera here. And as you can see, I drew an eye, and you can see my application of oil pastels. Now, your application needs to be pretty thick. That way you can remove it. And you will be removing it with this little scratching tool, just like this. They're not incredibly sharp, however, just be careful. And then I started to remove the oil pastels, showing the paper underneath. Now here you can see where I applied green on top of yellow, and it's showing the yellow underneath. But over here, you can see where I'm starting to show the paper underneath in the eye itself. So if I were to do this again, I'm going to use my oil pastels. Talking about oil pastels are a very inexpensive medium. So they're not expensive at all. Hopefully you can still hear me. However, they do kind of go away pretty quickly, meaning a student probably used these 1 or 2 times, and then you can see already how much have been used. So just know they're pretty inexpensive, but it's very easy to kind of run through them. So I'm going to just do a quick little, I guess I'll just do a sphere. That's easy. And you are more than welcome to, which I don't need to do it in this case, but if you need to peel back this paper to get to the oil pastels, you're more than welcome to. You're going to have to, actually, to use them. So I'm going to apply my pastels here, my pink pastel. And I am trying to get a solid layer, so I do not want to see this white underneath. And then to add value, I'm going to go on top of it with some red. So I'm going to do some layering here. Like I said, you want a thick application so you can remove it. And then I'll just make some darker. Not showing up too dark. Let's see. There we go. And then I can do a little cast shadow. Okay, so I have my little sphere here. And since my paper is white, when I remove, I most likely am going to scratch to that white paper. So for instance, let me shake this off a little bit. There we go. So for instance, when I go and do the highlight here, I'm going to see that white paper underneath. Now if I go over here and I don't apply so much pressure, I'll probably see more of the pink. It's kind of pink, but you still see a little bit of the white. What I like about Sgraffito in this case is it's a very forgiving tool. So if I didn't like that, I could always just go on top and add more and just do it again. I love these scratching tools. Also make sure to clean them as you're using them, because you can get those fine lines. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but I'm able to get much finer lines than just going through and scraping big lines like that one video. So anyway, that is Sgraffito. And I want you guys to do something much more complex than a sphere here, especially for your practice. Try to do something more intricate like an eye or a hand or a dog, whatever. Something much more complex. And then when you get to your final, you can create whatever you want as long as you're still using the Sgraffito technique. Real quick before I get off here, I'm going to show you where you've probably have seen this tool before, and where you've probably have done Sgraffito without knowing you've done Sgraffito, and that is, where is it at? Oh, it's over here. It is a scratch board. Some of you might know these, some of you may not. It's a very common middle school project. But anyway, it's the same thing where a lot of the times you'll see where they'll have rainbow of a backing underneath. In this case, it's silver. And then a layer of some type of medium. It's always matte, so it's easier to scratch. But anyway, scratch boards, you will just scratch on top of it. I love these. I love the silver, because it has such a strong contrast. But anyway, some people don't like these because of the matte texture or the sound of doing them. But anyway, you guys will have a couple of these, or I'll have these cut up for you if you want to play around with these. However, this cannot be your final. It can just be kind of a mess around. You have extra time kind of thing. So speaking of a final spread, I'm going to show you one example. And that is Chloe's here. I can't remember if you guys have seen this or not, but let's see. All right. She has her Sgraffito spread here. Created a nice title. Answered her questions. Don't forget you guys have questions with all of your techniques. So in this case, Sgraffito, texture, and then also your unintentional marks. You've had questions with all of those. Make sure to incorporate it in your layout in some way. Also, I want you guys to be intentional with your layout. Remember, this is a work of art. So really have or take some creative liberties here. For your final, I do want you to spend more time on it. I'm giving you guys more time on it than this class. So you guys will be starting Sgraffito today. It should be August 7th. And then you guys will have you'll have the weekend, and then you'll have, I think, Monday and Tuesday as studio days. So you can go back and work on your Sgraffito layout, and then your texture layout, and your unintentional mark layout if you need to. So that would make everything, all three of these, due on August 12th. At that point, at the end of class, you'll turn in your sketchbook. If you don't have a sketchbook yet, just turn in your layouts. So remember, 2-page spread. So if you don't have a sketchbook, you should be turning in 6 pages or papers of your sketchbook studies. And then after that, we're going to start our independent studies where you guys will be doing this on your own. Anyway, that is Sgraffito. That is how you do Sgraffito right here and right here. And then this is kind of the layout that I'm looking for. All right. You guys have a ton of fun. I'm excited to see what you guys make. Bye, guys.